What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of the Talon Claw 4. This blaster, designed by Captain Slug, is a 3D printed Springer that takes half darts and half magazines. If it looks familiar, it's by the same guy that made the Caliburn, so it is similar in design. But this one is optimized around the half dart magazine. So let's get into it, starting up at the front. There's no in-strike barrel lug, but it does have a metal compression barrel because it is a high-performance Springer. Above that is a front sight, which is removable, along with the rear sight. These are a very cool design. I think they look super edgy, but these are both attached to a 3D printed Picatinny rail, so if you wanted to remove them and put on some other optic, you totally could. Down here is the priming handle to prime this one. You do that. Prime strength required is way harder than a normal Nerf Elite blaster, but this is set up in a 200 FPS configuration right now, so that's to be expected. The prime action itself works, but I really wouldn't describe it as smooth. And pulling the priming handle forward has a surprising amount of friction. It's not super smooth, but it totally works. And this angled priming handle is included with the blaster, but underneath it is a Picatinny rail, so if you wanted to replace it with a standard vertical grip, you totally could. And priming a really hard spring tends to be a little easier on a vertical grip, in my opinion. The angled grip works, but it's not really ideal for a higher power Springer like this. But I think it looks way cooler and definitely fits the cosmetics of this blaster. Can't forget them style points, bruh. Moving back to the magwell, to get the magazine out, you strike the magazine release right here. You can insert and remove the magazine when the priming handle is forward or the breech is closed, which should be the new industry standard because that makes using the blaster just that much easier. But the magwell itself is compatible with worker Talon mags and Talon mag equivalents, and it works really well. There's a built-in flare to it, even though it's not visible on the outside. So you're able to not have to look at the magwell in order to get a mag in there. I really dig flared magwells like this. It just makes reloading easier. And the location of the magazine release is just like the Caliburn, so if you've shot one of those, it's the same idea. So I can use my firing hand's middle finger to pull out the mag, or if you want to use your offhand's thumb like that, you can do either one. So the magwell and the mag release are designed really well. Moving down to the trigger pull is pretty standard. This blaster does not have slam fire. And it also does not have a trigger lock, so if you want to deprime the blaster, you totally can. High performance blasters like this often don't have slam fire just so you can deprime the blaster without slamming your plunger tube. Dry firing with a blaster this powerful is not a good idea. Now down to the grip. Overall, this is a pretty comfortable grip that should definitely fit most hand types. It feels exactly like the Caliburn, so if you felt that and you like it, you'll probably like this one too. It's pretty plain, neutral, and unoffensive, so it's not going to bug your hand after hours of use. And I dig the rounding off of the bottom of the trigger guard right here. That makes the middle finger on your firing hand just sit there really comfortably. I dig that. And above the grip is the plunger tube, which is painted clear so you can see inside it. You can see which spring you're running, and after you've primed it, that can also kind of be a priming indicator. Moving back to the stock, this is an adjustable stock, but this is actually an injection molded worker stock. This is not 3D printed. They just took this out of the worker base and designed the blaster around it, which is really cool. To adjust it, you click up on this little back thing, and then you can push in the stock like so. So it's pretty much out of the way as if the stock is not there to make it nice and compressed. And the bars run alongside the blaster, which I think looks cool. Reminds me of like a PDW stock. And you can fully extend it if you're a bigger person like me. That is an external overview of the Talon Claw 4. It looks super cool, super aggressive, but it functions like most other Springers. Shooting red worker Gen 3 half-length darts out of an 18-round Talon mag. Operating the Talon Claw 4 went pretty much as expected. It shoots super hard and I didn't have any feeding issues or major malfunctions. A few minor issues to mention. I had quite a few flyers on the chrono with this one. Roughly 1 out of 15 darts did not perform at all like the other 14 darts. It would fart out of the barrel at a much lower velocity as if that dart didn't fit the barrel. Not really sure what the cause was, but this isn't the most consistent blaster from shot to shot. Secondly, as you saw in the POV footage, sometimes when I primed this, I would pull it forward and my hand would miss because this whole grip is designed around pushing it backwards, not forward. But this return stroke is surprisingly heavy. There's a lot of friction here. Obviously, priming the blaster is difficult because you're pushing back a spring. The return is usually super smooth. So using the angled grip with this blaster felt a little strange at times. To fix that, I'd recommend lubing the priming system or using a vertical priming grip so you can push forward like that. And lastly, a few of my screws up front backed out a little bit. I was able to catch it before it completely disconnected and I lost the hardware. But if you buy one of these, check the tightness of your screws to make sure everything's clamped down, so if you're running around grass or something, you don't lose a screw. I've lost hardware in tall grass and you're not going to find it, but your lawnmower will. To compare this blaster to others, I put it up on my chronograph. And with worker Gen 3 darts, I achieved an average velocity of 201 feet per second, which is shooting super hard, way faster than the Nerf Elite par of 70 feet per second. Keep in mind there are a few different power options you can get from the Out of Darts website: 110, 130, 175, and 195 FPS. So good velocity, but you can choose a weaker one if it's too hot for you. That's the objective information I can provide on this blaster, now to my personal opinion. Overall, I'm adequately satisfied with this blaster. It does everything it advertises. My opinion on this one would have been a little higher had I reviewed it right when it came out. This is a slightly older design. But because of what else is on the market right now, my opinion isn't super high given its price. It does everything right, but because it's 3D printed and in chunks, there's a little bit more flex in this blaster than something that's injection molded. And our standards in the hobby have changed drastically in the last few years with all these high quality injection molded blasters on the market. So my personal opinion, it definitely doesn't do anything wrong, but I don't see myself fielding this one in a game. I'd rather use a Tryon or a Worker Harrier. That gets me to the question, to buy or not to buy. I think I'd only recommend this blaster to people who are mechanically inclined and really like the clear plunger tube and the exposed metal. This blaster looks really cool. It's really quite edgy and very aggressive. I dig the cosmetics. But I think this will really shine for people who already have a 3D printer and really dig the design but want to save some money by printing it on their own. You can buy just the hardware kit from Out of Darts and then print everything with your own printer. And again, there's nothing wrong with the Talon Claw 4, but if you're looking for a high-performance Springer in this similar price range, check out the Worker Harrier. I think the Worker Harrier is a much better buy than the Talon Claw 4. It's injection molded plastic, not 3D printed in a bunch of chunks, so there's no flex in the shell. The prime action on the Harrier is incredibly smooth, and I get a little better shot-to-shot consistency with the Worker Harrier. So the performance, ergonomics, and strength and longevity all go to Worker Harrier. Furthermore, the Worker Harrier is actually cheaper than the Talon Claw 4, which really surprises me, so I don't really recommend anyone buy this. It's a shame because it's a good blaster, but for the money, go buy Harrier. But again, had I reviewed this when it came out, my opinion of it might have been a little different. But that's just my opinion. Hopefully I've laid out everything you need to know to make an educated purchase decision on your own. If you'd like to buy one of these, check out the link in the description box below. And if you buy from Out of Darts, you can customize your color. I've obviously chosen blue and orange, and I think it looks pretty cool. And thank you very much to Out of Darts for sending over this sample unit for review. That's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical.